Hi, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk to Ryan Englin, CEO of Core Matters, a recruitment marketing firm. And we're going to talk today about finding the right people. I'm Josh Farley, president of Redline Electric and Solar. Join me as we talk to contractors, business owners, and experts who are willing to share their experiences to help you overcome obstacles when you're taking your business up and to the right. Ryan, thanks for joining us. Tell us what you do and who you do it for.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I've been doing digital marketing for a long time, and a lot of my clients have told me that they really struggle finding, attracting, and recruiting the right people into their home services business. So a couple of years ago, we started to develop marketing plans for finding applicants for your business instead of finding customers.
Why do you think businesses are struggling to find the right people these days?
I think it comes down to a couple of things. Number one, I think that the internet and these jobs that are in the tech sector, that are these really sexy jobs, have almost spoiled it for the people that are out in the field and the laborers. A lot of people think, well, you know, I can get a job where I don't have to work so hard. So there's not as many people going into the trades. There's not as many people that are excited about swinging a hammer in the middle of summer here in Phoenix. And so there's a limited talent pool. There's just not as many people looking for these kind of jobs today.
Well, it makes sense. You know, you can go to work at GoDaddy and have a slide from the second floor to the first floor. You get to ride go-karts to and from the break room. It's hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
So what do you do to set your clients up to compete against that?
Yeah, so like I said before, we create these marketing plans, these marketing funnels for applicants now. So instead of marketing your company as a place that customers want to come do business with you, we market the culture of your company so that applicants want to actually work there. So just what GoDaddy does, talking about the slide and talking about the go-karts, we find what's the equivalent for your business, and then we market that to people that are actually thinking about making a change, but maybe not actively seeking work today.
Great. So you're putting culture first, culture, core values, that sort of environment first.
Absolutely. A lot of people these days are really looking for a place where they can belong and that they're motivated to come to work. When we look at the generations that are out there, the millennials and even the Gen X today, so that would be anybody that's mid-20s to late 30s, they're really looking for a couple of things in an employer, and money and benefits and pensions. Those things aren't always it.
No, that's great. And you also suggest that an employer continue to look for the right people even though he doesn't have necessarily positions open.
Absolutely. One of the things I hear a lot from my clients, actually there's two things. Number one is, you know what, one of my top guys just decided to move back home to be closer with family. You can't anticipate that.
Right.
And what happens, well, when that happens, a lot of times employers scramble. Got to get job postings out there, maybe contact a recruiter, and they're in this scramble to still deliver to their customers. Whereas if you're always recruiting, you have a backlog of people that have actually applied for your company. You've probably talked to most of them, and you just start calling those people as opposed to scrambling and looking for someone that's actively looking to make a jump. And so another reason that it's important to always be recruiting is you're going to have only a couple of A players on your team. It's pretty typical. You're going to have some B, C, and D players, some people that aren't always performing as well. So if you're always recruiting, when you find that new rock star to bring into your business, it makes it easier to replace someone that you've been afraid to get rid of.
That definitely makes sense. What is the one thing they can do right now to start looking to better their team?
Where we always start is, what are the values of the company? And how are you living those values inside the organization? A lot of people want to come to work and they want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like the employer matches their values. So if someone values family, they're going to want to go work for an organization that values family as well.
Right.
So getting really clear on what those values are and putting them out there is a great place to start, both for new applicants and the people that are currently on your team.
Okay, that's great. I want to switch gears a little bit and ask and talk about your experience with starting your own firm. What were the struggles that you may have had when you first started that you wish you knew then that you know now?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still learning those, by the way.
Of course, aren't
Always.
Aren't we all, for sure?
But I would say that one of the biggest things that I've learned just recently, actually, is that you have to do what you say you're going to do. And that goes with your customers, which we've all heard that before. If you promise a customer something, you got to deliver it. But it goes with your employees, too.
Right.
And that's something that I didn't pay as much attention to. If I tell my employees that they're going to have a twice-a-year review, performance review, I better deliver on that.
Right.
And it's so easy to get caught up dealing with clients or just the day-to-day that you forget to do those performance evaluations. But it's really important to your employees.
Well, you got to lead by example. And
Absolutely.
If you're not doing what you say you're going to do, then they think it's okay to not do what they say they're going to do.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what's your favorite entrepreneurism?
I got a couple of them, but right now one that comes top of mind is data doesn't lie. When you're doing marketing or you're growing your business or you're putting your processes into place, make sure it's objective. Make sure there's data behind it.
Right. But then you got to have the processes to follow up on that. So
Absolutely. One of the things that my clients are struggling with the most is they're regretting the decision they made on the person they hired.
Right.
And what happens is they look great in the interview, they're all excited, they show up for work, and it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. They miss something. And what we're finding is it's the interview process. Usually it's not thorough enough. And so they're making these decisions based on some interview questions and not really how that person's going to perform on the job.
Gotcha. So we do core value questions on our applications along
Sure.
with just the basic, we want to touch on culture and core values during those, and we never hire on a one interview. Like you never know what you're going to get on a first impression kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually recommend that there's 4 steps to your interview process. Now you can combine them depending on the number of applicants you have.
Are you going to give us those 4 steps for free?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So
let's do it.
the phone interview. The phone interview is the most critical piece. It's right at the beginning. It's where you get to screen out a lot of people. And the phone interview is really about skills. You're making sure, do you have that certification that you need? Are you familiar with working around, high voltage? You're asking those questions.
Correct.
If they pass the phone interview, then the next interview you dig into culture. And it's a face-to-face, and you're making sure that they're going to fit the culture. The third interview that we do is a disqualifying interview. It's really easy. I suffer from this. This is something I learned is I love everybody. So it's really easy to fall in love with an applicant and go, oh my gosh, they're the person to fill that role.
Right.
But the third interview, we actually look at disqualifying them. So this is where we put them into real life situations to see if they're going to be able to actually perform on the job. And then the fourth interview step, it's no longer an interview, that's when you make the offer. And too often we see it where they just sign over an offer letter and say, hey, go ahead and sign and get started, grab your tool bag and go. And there really needs to be a lot of expectation setting and talking about the onboarding process and talking about things that may come up.
Well, and training for their processes specifically.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So they know what they're getting into and you know what you're getting into.
Let's talk about that disqualification setting. I've heard I heard from one pastor who was hiring from a church, said that he would put litter around the grounds and they'd walk their interview around the grounds, and if that person didn't pick up the litter, he wasn't necessarily the right fit for their company. So are you talking like real life situations like that, or staging something to see what their character is or how they go about doing their thing?
Absolutely. So a couple of examples I can give you, and I've heard the litter one before, and I think that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
We have a client that's really struggling to keep their CSRs, their customer support reps, the ones that answer the phone, schedule the appointments, help the service manager with routing, the dispatcher and all that. And they're doing these face-to-face interviews, and these CSRs are just amazing, and the face-to-face interviews. But they put them on the phone, and they're like, what happened? It's a different person. Well, if you look at it, it's 2 totally different skill sets.
Right.
It's a lot easier to be very personable and very friendly during a face-to-face. A lot harder to do that over the phone. And so during that disqualifying interview, you can either, if you're willing to risk it, have them do live calls and schedule appointments, listen in and see how they do, or just even do some mock phone calls where maybe they go into another office and you call each other. It seems silly.
Role play.
But yeah, but
Gotcha.
people can be totally different on the phone versus in person. Another one that we have is dispatchers responsible for the weekly meeting, and they have to be good at putting together an agenda. So we've actually asked for the next interview that they come prepared with an agenda for the interview. Not only does that tell you if they can put together an agenda, but now you know what they want to talk about.
Well, in my experience, it's definitely better to ask something of the applicant to make them responsible for some part of it. They got to have some skin in the game. So that's great. What do you got to offer the people watching today?
Yeah, so anybody that wants to just talk about this and find out if maybe there's a quick hit opportunity within their business, 30-minute strategy session. It's not a sales pitch. There's no obligation or anything like that, but I just want to help you dig into your business and see if we can find a way to help you with the recruiting side of it.
Great, thanks, Ryan. He means it. It's free. No strings attached. He'll help you. Ryan, tell our viewers how they get a hold of you.
Easiest way to get a hold of me is on the internet at thecorematters.com. I think it's going to be down below somewhere. So that's the easiest way. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're out there on the internet, but our website's going to be the easiest way.
Awesome, that's great. If you are or know somebody who's struggling to find the right people, get a hold of Ryan. He'll help you guys out. Ryan, thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming in and share your experience.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe to our podcast at iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to see more episodes. Go to upandtotheright.org to get all the links.